Hey, it's me, Rev D from 2020 Radical Gold Diggers. Well, me and my husband have partnered up, and guess what? We are unscripted and raw in this video. We're going to talk about relationships, our marriage, the good, the bad, the ugly, our blood, sweat, and tears. Let us help you in your relationship. Get some gold nuggets so you can build the life you deserve. And remember, it takes two. And today, we're really going to talk about how important communication is at a marriage. So, Sean, right out the gate, you know, after we got married, we wanted to build a home and not the physical home. We wanted to build a life together with, children, having the jobs and, being citizens of our community, help build a community. We just had all these aspirations and things that we wanted to do. One thing that was very intriguing to me was you had so many people in your family still married. And in my family, my parents separated when I was 5, which means I really don't remember married people in my house. And and they were divorced, I guess, by the time I was 7. So my role models were really, both your grandparents were still living when we got married, God bless them, and certainly your parents. So we had major role models and people that weren't distant. We were all in the same circle, and it was wonderful. And so like I said, I wanted to build all these things, but then it was like, how do you build all these things? And then you start looking around at the role models and the people that have built such beautiful appeared to me to be beautiful marriages. But I got my kids into church, because I grew up Catholic. That's totally different thing. And you guys were Baptists, and they were very family oriented activities all around the church. And I remember saying, oh, I want the children to grow up in the family church and be a part of all of that. And it was just, I just had so many aspirations. I was excited after I got married. I mean, what are your feelings on what you expected about building a home?
See, the difference is that I was living it. You were looking at it from the outside and you wanted to obtain it for your family. Right. I didn't have any different expectation because it was all that I knew. So I never expected that my kids wouldn't grow up the same way that I did, right, having the same Christmases that I did, and the same summers that I did. It never occurred to me that I would have to plan that because I took it for granted that that's how life was going to be.
Right. Yep. And I couldn't take it for granted. I was just, hey, how are we going to do all these things? And, the good thing about it, Sean, in the marriage, there was the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I like to describe that as the good days, of course, were the good days. The bad days were the bad days when things didn't go so right, or we couldn't pay a bill, or the lights, and those were the bad days. Of course, when we lost loved ones, those were the horrible days. And then it was the ugly. And I like to describe the ugly days when we weren't so nice to each other, and going through the process of trying to build, this home was really, a challenge. But here we are later, and we did it, and we're still growing and trying to build more. And I just wanted to, really help people in relationships, and certainly people who are trying to strengthen their marriage. The number one thing is to communicate. I mean, it's like we had to keep going back to the table several times and redrafting stuff and redesigning stuff because things sometimes weren't working out the way we planned it. So, we never really assumed the other one just knew. We were definitely, and our kids will tell you, we were verbal in this relationship. We were very verbal.
Yeah. See, my thing is that as bad as things got, because it happens with every relationship. I never had, I never thought that it was over. I never thought that I was leaving. I always knew that I was going to be married forever in my
Right.
mind, because that's what I saw. So
Mhm.
it wasn't something, the expectation was, getting past that particular incident, how we were going to get past that fight, or not even just thinking about how I was going to get past it, just letting it go past. It was just living life as it comes, and I really didn't plan a lot of that stuff. I really didn't have a blueprint for all of that stuff.
Mhm.
As I said, I just knew that from looking at how my family was, that's how things were going to be.
Right.
And with my family around, they were able to help out financially. They would help with the kids. They made sure that we were going to be able to live the life that we wanted to live, or that they lived, because once again, when you look at it now, everybody wasn't always giddy and excited and happy.
No,
They
no.
weren't, we weren't. That's
Right.
just not how life is.
No.
Life is getting through obstacles and getting over one hurdle and on to the next, because there's more of those hard times than there are happy times. But within all of those happy times, you have to find, what makes everything worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is certainly well said. When you talk about the support we had, this is very important in relationships. Who else is invested in your relationships? And, I had great friends, but I had the best in-laws imaginable. And, people call them in-laws. I call them, in love, because I just felt that they loved me as just as much as I loved them. And they were so vested in whatever we needed. If I would say, I need you to watch the kids, I needed you to do this. I remember Joan saying to me, and that's Sean's mother. I remember her saying to me one time, I was just so frustrated when I was so young. I was so frustrated with a situation with Sean. And Joan said, "What do you want me to do?" And I was like, and I told her, I said, "Well, can you get the kids?" And she just came right over with his father and picked up the kids, and they said, "Look, we're not gonna get in your business, but if that's how they can help us," and that's how they helped. We had such a team, and I can't say that Sean and I built these 30 some odd years by ourselves. I could never say that. We had so much help from, the elders in our families, and, young people. I don't even know if they even looking up to the elders and soaking in all that wisdom for their life. I don't know if they're doing that like we did. We took advantage that we had somebody right there that we could say, "What should I do?" So I don't know. I'm so grateful that we had such a team of support. When we had our intentions when we got married to build a home, but now we're here. What are the best things that you can even think about that we actually built? What are you proud of?
I mean, our family. I mean, that's all. That's all we did build. Everything else is material,
Right.
or doesn't count. It's We have relatively happy, healthy kids and grandkids. That's all that matters. That's the
Yes.
only thing that matters.
Yeah. Well, I can say that I'm very proud that we were able to build a family, and, our children are grown now, and now we have two grandchildren, and I'm very happy about that now that we're aiding in their lives, nurturing our grandchildren. And, I'm very excited, about that as well. For me, if I were to ask, what am I most proud about in this marriage, I would just have to say I just thank God for, his grace in the marriage. I can't say it's just one particular thing, because there's so many things that I'm so happy about. And I know that if it had not been for, you know, my faith or my trust or my prayers to God and our, you know, our seniors praying for us, I don't know if we could have made it, you know. Sean and I are proud to say that we have longevity with our friends, you know, and this is so important to us that they were on this ride with us, you know, all these years, you know. So it was a lot of people on the journey with us that is so important. And if I want to say anything to our listeners, that is so important that you continue to communicate with your partner. It's so important. And it's more important to talk to him than to talk to everybody else, you know. And that's something that I'm not saying I knew out the gate. I had to learn that. Let me stop calling up, you know, Mary, Sue, and Jane, and let me just start talking to Sean with some confidence that Sean's going to hear me and not be afraid if he disagrees, because, you know, hey, we can bounce it back and forth. And I think that came with maturity. So I can say I'm proud of a lot of things and what was built, and we're still building.
Yeah, I think it's just important that you have a desire to get through whatever your issue is, because the
That's a good
goal
point.
isn't to win an argument. The goal is to build a life, you know. So sometimes it doesn't matter, you know, where you are or your position in a particular situation, or whether or not you're even right.
Right.
What's important is that you put it behind you and you move forward so that you can deal with the next issue. But what happens is that you learn the person that your spouse. You learn them. Not you learn in any relationship, kids, whoever.
Right.
You know what makes them tick,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to use that and utilize that when understanding who they are as humans and how and what motivates them to make the decisions that they make. You know, and when you do understand the nature of the beast, it gets a little bit easier. The fights don't become as important or serious, because nobody's going to do anything at this point that's going to be that detrimental to a relationship. We might not
Right.
agree with something somebody did or said, but it's not going to be, you know,
Life changing.
Yeah, at all. So it's just a matter of realizing that and finding a way to get through that, and putting that behind you, like everything else we put behind us in the last 35 years, however
Right.
long it's been.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point. I can never stress it enough that communication is absolutely key. And you know, it's all right to change your mind. You know, hey, now I see something different. You know, and that happens too. You know, in decision makings. You know, you grow and you mature. So I think that we've had our best arguments, and I'm going to tell you, we've had some very good arguments. You know, I've gotten to the point I say, sure, you know what, that was a very good rebuttal there. You did a good job, you know, and we can appreciate someone's thoughts, you know, and say, you know what, I hadn't thought about it like that. And Sean has a way of you know, making me see something that I'm totally blind to. I mean, this was something I think really helped in our relationship, because, you know, I guess the good part about it that I was open to it, you know, and you know, and he could show me something that I didn't see, you know. So it's, you know, and that's knowing your partner, you know, and he could clearly see she don't see it, you know, that type of thing. And he would work tirelessly, not hollering and screaming, but just getting me to see it. You know, Sean to get into an argument with me, and I feel like I'm talking to a lawyer. Like, what are you saying? Like, that's you're too serious right now. You know, you're using too many big words, like, you know. But just say what you gotta say. So, you know, but I appreciate the way that that, you know, Sean took time to communicate, even when it was very challenging. You know, everything wasn't a fight, and even now, you know, when we moved from New York, oh my God, we lived in this house for 25 years, and you know, everything was settled, you know, And when we moved, it was just like pulling the rug out in this relationship. And now we're going to start a new life. And there was so many new things that came up. I was just like, I hope we survive the move. I hope this marriage survives the move. But you know what? It did. And we're still growing and evolving. And I can, all I can say, you don't arrive nowhere. You continually to grow in your relationship.
Yeah, well, the move was important and it was scary.
It was.
Basically, I had come off the most traumatic 5 years of my life.
Yes.
I watched every elder in my family pass away, from my parents, having to take care of my grandparents,
Mhm.
to my Aunt Sheila. It was devastating, and I needed a new start. So as tied as I was to that house, and as much as that house was tied to my family, because it was the center of my family for, since the 30s and 40s.
Yes. Yes.
And leaving that and selling that was very difficult for me to do, but I was ready for a fresh start. And coming here, not having my family, and you only having my family, changed the direction when we came here.
Mhm.
Because I knew you had been away from your family for so long. Now it was your turn to be with your family,
Mhm.
and for us to grow with them. And like your mother, for instance, when we were younger, she didn't have a big role in our relationship
No.
at all, but now she's the matriarch of the family,
She
you know,
is.
and it's important to me, that she is treated like that. I say that because I find it odd. I remember when we did her 80th birthday here, when we first moved down here.
Yes.
She was telling everybody that I'm going to be the one that takes care of her when she gets old. I'm like, all of your kids are here right now. All right. All of your children, every single one of them, and all of your grandchildren. And you're telling them that I'm going to take care of you. But that meant a lot to me,
Yes.
that she would, in her lucid mind, trust me with her life. But that's what family is all about. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're supposed to be willing to do for each other.
Yes. My mother absolutely is so proud of you, Sean. And my mother was in those dark days with you and with us, and trying to be a support to us as we were going through those days. And the way she may have looked at you 25 years ago and the way she looks at you now is two totally different ways. And it's good, because life has a way of growing people into people that they didn't even know they could be. And Sean found that out for himself, that he was more than what he ever thought he was. And we were just so proud how you honored your loved ones and the way you laid them to rest with such dignity and grace. So yeah, life is quite something. And it's very important that you be in a circle of people that are, that are vested in your life and respect your relationships and your boundaries, and and you just have that line of support. So Sean, I just want to thank you for once again sharing the truth of our marriage, because like I said, this is unscripted. We pick a topic and we just run with it. And I just thank God that we can share the good, the bad, and the ugly with you, to help you to learn from us so you can have a better experience in your own relationships and, of course, your marriages. So thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for our next episode on the Masons. We've built the life that we wanted. God bless you.